Hi, I'm Lisa Rangel with Chameleon Resumes, the premier executive resume writing company, and thank you so much for joining me today. Today, we're going to talk about 3 tactics to increase the responses to your follow-up emails. Now, I'm just a huge believer in making sure that we look at every interaction of a job search in a granular way so we can try to increase the responses, increase the interaction between you and a decision maker to ultimately, get the meetings that you need and the offers that you want so you can get the great job that you want and have worked so hard for. So today we're going to talk about 3 specific tactics that you can use that I have seen personally and with our clients increase the response rate of follow-up emails. And this could be a follow-up email for a networking request. It could be a follow-up email for an interview. It can be a follow-up email on like a second or third interview, or something about an offer. So it's a tactic that can be used in any part of the state, any part of the job landing phase. So the first tactic, and this one isn't necessarily unique to me by any means, but I want to make sure I remind you of it, is to keep it short. Keep it short. Nobody wants to read a wall of words. And we all know, I know when you hear the phrase wall of words, you're getting it if you haven't known this phrase before. We've all gotten the email on our phone or in our laptop inbox, and it just literally looks like a wall of words, and nobody wants to read it. It's too much. So don't do that. The second one, there's a little context I want to give you in these next 2 points. We have a bit of we have a world right now that's very heavy. Globally in our country, in the US, that is, for those of you who are global listeners and watchers, and in our own homes even, right? Like, we're all a bit challenged. We still all have post-COVID fatigue. I mean, there's just a lot going on, right? And I encourage you, when you send out follow-up emails, to don't put in requests that put a burden on the person you're emailing, especially in a way that it's a task that you're asking of them that they probably can't complete in a way that will make you happy. And that might be very long and convoluted, but hear me out. So when you send an email that says, hi, I'm following up on the interview I had last week, and I'm really interested in the role. Can you let me know when you have some updates? And obviously it's going to be a lot more eloquent than that, but you get the idea. You're putting a burden now on the person of going, okay, Lisa wants me to get back to them, and I don't have an answer because, the person the leader in finance isn't getting back to me. Or, if it is the finance leader that you're emailing, HR isn't getting back to me. Like, typically, you have to realize, I want you to realize, that when there isn't a response from anyone you're emailing about a stage in the process that you've encountered, typically it's because they don't have an answer. They're often not totally avoiding the bad news. And yeah, there are recruiters that avoid the bad news, but most people don't take action when they don't know the answer, right? They don't want to email you back, I don't know the answer. I don't have an update for you. So when you say, can you get back to me? Can you let me know? Now you've put an item on their to-do list inadvertently. And you're doing that in a world that's already heavy. And you're doing it in a way that now they don't have the ability to make you happy by giving you an update because they don't have one, right? So my suggestion, and we're going to give you something to walk away with today, as I try to do for every video. So my suggestion is to make a request that make a request that will directly state, they will get back to you when they have an update. So you might say something like, and this is an example I call it my stay on the radar email. You might say, hi, I'm reaching out to simply stay on your radar and reiterate my interest for the blank position or blank networking meeting I've requested, or whatever the case may be. I know you're busy. I know you will get back to me when you have a development. I simply wanted to stay on your radar. So now you haven't put an item on their to-do list. You've infused belief in them that they will get back to you when they have information, when they have a development. But now you're just simply staying on their radar. All right. So this leads me to point number 3. But before I get to number 3, the reason why I see this to work is we're in a world, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, right, where we're all scrolling and getting updates from people, but we don't speak with them in many cases. Yet we still feel like we know about their job or their conference they attended or what's going on with their kids or what's going on with their parents. Like we feel intimately involved with so many people simply by following them. And I've thought for years that email has now served in that way. People will read your email saying you're reiterating your interest and staying on the radar, and they'll get back to you when they have a development, and you look forward to hearing from them when it's appropriate. And they see that and they don't have to respond, but they read your email, the way they view a post on LinkedIn, the way they view a post on Facebook, again, or TikTok or Instagram. So why can't email be the same way? I've thought this for years, and this is why I see this to work, because people may see that you've emailed them now. You haven't set an expectation that they can't deliver on, and you've just sent a status update essentially, but via email. So that's why I see this tactic working a lot, and I wanted to share it with you. And then the third point, which leads to the third point, as you phrase your follow-up email, phrase it in such a way that can set the person up to easily be a hero and exceed your expectations, right? We're all not meeting people's expectations every day, right? We have teenagers that we're parents to that are unhappy. We have parents that we're trying to help that it's never good enough. We have bosses that are demanding things that we're trying, our schedules are exploding and we can't deliver upon. We have, employees that report to us that seem to think we're not doing it as well as we should as the leaders, right? We're all feeling like we're falling short all over the place in every direction of our work life, personal life, and even our own self-care, right? We're disappointing ourselves by not doing the workout or not doing the meditation or not doing the things that we think we should do, right? So if you can send a follow-up email that has such a low threshold of expectation, and I don't say that in any negative way, hear me out, that all somebody has to do is reply and they're a hero in a simple way, right? You might even include in that email, here's an example. You might include in that email that I sent, the stay on the radar email, you might even say, I don't expect you to email back to this email, unless of course you have a development, but I simply wanted to stay on your radar and reiterate my interest. And thank you for what you're doing for me. All they have to do now is reply. You've already set the threshold that you don't expect them to reply. They may actually, and I see this happen time and time again, people may actually reply because now they, just by simply replying and saying, hey, I don't have an update, but thank you so much for your email. I really appreciate what you've done here, or, I really appreciate your gratitude, or whatever the case may be. It's just another 2-line response that allows them to be a hero that in that moment and exceed your expectations. It makes them feel good. So these are 3 tactics that I have used for years. I've written about in my daily email list that I've been emailing people since 2015. It's what we do in our coaching. But these are the kind of mindset mindset initiatives that it's just thinking about human behavior and what's going to incentivize somebody to hit reply. And it's not necessarily completely formulaic, right? Even though I kind of gave you a formula today, but it's about seeing what's the backdrop and then what's going to incentivize the person to respond, and in a good way, right? So these are just some things to keep in mind. Again, keep it short. Make sure you're not burdening the person with something they can't achieve, and set them up to be the hero. those are the 3 tips that I suggest that you use as a guide as you're writing your follow-up emails in any case, in any situation. And just let me know how it goes. And so if you're interested in more tactics like that, or having a resume that incentivizes people to respond, go down in the description below and I have a link there, or DM me and I can send you some specific resources that may meet your needs. So I look forward to a discussion. I love to hear what your tactics are, and this way we can share for the masses here so everybody's benefiting from it. And I look forward to seeing you next week. So if you find that this will help someone, I'm going to ask you to like it and share it. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss next week's video. And again, like I asked, if you have any comments or additions or questions, feel free to post it below or email me at lr@chameleonresumes.com, because I do my best to read and reply to every comment and email. So thank you so much and have a great day.